Hello there, it's good to have your company. You're watching RT International. Now, the killing of a pro-opposition journalist in Kiev has triggered condemnation. The European security watchdog, as well as international press freedom groups, are now calling for an investigation into the attacks on the media in Ukraine. Well, as Buzina's murder became the latest in a spate of deaths of journalists and politicians. RT's Murat Gazdiev has more on that. Some of the images in the report are disturbing.
It's been murder after murder.
Meanwhile, earlier on Thursday, another journalist was also killed in Kiev.
After murder.
Oleg Kalashnikov is the latest ally of the former government to have died in suspicious circumstances.
4 Ukrainian journalists and political activists have been killed in just the last week. Coincidentally, almost all of them critics of the new pro-Western government.
It's not the first such murder. There have been a whole series of them in Ukraine. But in North America and Europe, they prefer to turn a blind eye.
Well, technically the State Department did mention them. The United States managed to fit its concern into all of 2 breaths.
One journalist and a parliamentarian, maybe? Let me check. Yes, we send our condolences to their family and friends, call for complete, thorough and transparent investigations, which I understand President Poroshenko has called for as well. Don't have more details. In
all, 11 journalists and political activists have lost their lives in Ukraine in the last 3 months alone. And police have been content with writing off most as suicides.
The investigators must consider all possible scenarios and follow up all leads without their work being affected by any politicization.
The Ukrainian president is now warning of deliberate provocations, though as one former Ukrainian TV journalist told me, these killings have lost their shock value.
It is very bad that now people interest not who will be punished for the murder. They first interest who will be next.
Roman cited one of the slain journalists as his idol and inspiration for going into the profession, but he fears it will only get worse, much worse.
Like pogroms, like kind of ghettos, special zones for ones who think the other way than the state propaganda. It would become so that only international forces, I mean forces of the West and East together, could stop it.
And as the killings and deaths mount, it's going to be harder and harder for Kiev's backers to ignore one simple fact. Speaking out in Ukraine is now fatally dangerous. Murat Gazdiev, RT, from Donetsk in eastern Ukraine.
Well, personal data concerning 2 of the latest victims, the pro-opposition journalist and a former lawmaker, had been published on a pro-government website. They were included on a list of people branded as separatists and war criminals. RT's Medina Kuchinova investigates.
Called Peacekeeper, the site declares on its front page that it provides information for law enforcement and special services about pro-Russian terrorists. It contains the profiles of over 7,000 people. 2 government critics killed in Kiev within 24 hours of each other were on this list. And here's the profile of Ales Buzina. He is called a separatist, and disturbingly, his home address is shown in the profile. Right after the murder, the project's Twitter account posted this cryptic message, congratulating someone called Agent 404 for a mission accomplished. And after that, the leader of Ukraine's radical party publicly praised Buzina's death. The other victim was Oleg Kalashnikov, a former Ukrainian lawmaker. In his profile on the site, he is called a militant supporter. He is known for having been physically attacked by Ukraine's interior minister live on air.
И все, что ты боишься. Я ничего не боюсь. Я ничего не боюсь.
Отступай,
И не боюсь.
Смотри.
Друзі, я прошу бути інтелігентними і залишити, не ламати наше устаткування.
And while not having any direct links with the government, the peacekeeper site has been openly promoted by the advisor to the Interior Minister. On his official Facebook page, he says the information is very useful.
Every day, dozens of people would write to me with information on terrorists and separatists or those who are helping them. All that information was slowly but surely gathered on the site. And now, thanks to the painstaking work of volunteers united in their love for Ukraine, there are over 7,500 profiles of terrorists, separatists, and their accomplices in the database.
He adds that breaching confidentiality is justified here and that anyone reporting to this site or security officials is doing the right thing.